Tanya for the 20th of Nissan, Chaf Nissan, is in Perek Mem Aleph on page 114, or the bottom number, page 212. The Alter Rebbe just finished saying that in order for the mitzvah to be a complete mitzvah, you have to have both the service of an Eved and the level of the Ben. He has to be both a child to God and a servant to God, which means with love and with fear, so that there are two wings and the mitzvah can rise to their proper source. Now, about a third of the page down at the period. This kavana that he said before, which brings the mitzvah to its perfection and its completeness, is to have love and fear, the love being the desire to cleave to God and connect his neshama to God through the mitzvah. So the Rizal have said that a person should never separate himself from the community. Therefore, when a person is having kavanah in the act of a mitzvah, that he wants to connect himself to God, he shouldn't take himself out of the community, separate himself from the community, but rather he should include all other Jews in the kavanah. He should have the intention of connecting and cleaving to God, not only with his soul, but the source of all Jewish souls. Shehu ruach piv yisbarich. The source of all Jewish souls is God's breath, hanikra b'shem Shechina, which is called the Shechina. Al Shem, why is the source of all Jewish souls called Shechina? Shesheichenes umislabeshes teich kol almin, because it is clothed and sent down into the world, lahachayeson ulekaimon, to give them life and to give them existence. He, and it is this Shechina, that gives him the energy and the ability to speak the words of Torah. Or it is the Shechina that gives him the ability and the power to act and do the mitzvah that he's about to do. And this connection, this bringing together of the Shechina and the world, comes through the mitzvahs, into which God is clothed. And therefore he should have the intention of laham the nafshis kol Yisrael yachada. He should have the intention when he does the mitzvah of bringing together God's will, which is the source of Torah and is clothed in Torah, together with the Shechina, which is the source of all Jewish souls, and in that way he brings together HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Shechina. And as we will write later, the explanation and the meaning of this oneness. Now we will understand Zehu Pirush V'Shem Yichud Kucha Brichu U'Shchinte V'Shem Kol Yisrael. There's the custom of saying before every mitzvah that I am doing this for the sake of uniting HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Shechina in the name of all Jews. We don't have that custom, but there is such a custom. And the meaning of it is, what is the connection between bringing together Kadosh Baruch Hu and Shechina and doing it in the name of all Jews? It's because the Shechina is the makir of all Jewish souls. So in bringing together HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shechina, you're also bringing together HaKadosh Baruch Hu and all Jewish souls. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, again, is the source of Torah, the origin of Torah and mitzvahs, and Shechina is the origin of Jewish neshamas. In the note, the Alter Rebbe tells us that in doing the mitzvah, we accomplish something else as well. Not only the bringing together of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shechina, and of bringing godliness down into the world, meaning not only into my neshama, but also into the neshama of all Jews. So in addition to this, v'gam al yedei zeh yismasku gam kein hagvures b'chasod. Through the mitzvah, we also bring a sweetening of the severities with kindness, which means that in the divine attributes, the attribute of chesed and gvura are in conflict, and gvura demands severity, severe judgment, and we need to soften that and to sweeten that with kindness. So through the mitzvah, it happens mimele by itself. How does it happen? Behiskalulus hamides v'yichudam al yidei gilui ratzon ha'elyon baruch hu. How do you bring together two opposite emotions, two opposite impulses? It happens automatically when there is a joining of the midas and bringing of and they're coming together as a result of a higher gilui, of revealing something that is much higher than the two of them, which brings a bittul in both. They both become bittul, and they both become softened and flexible, and then they automatically merge and blend. And when they blend, then the kindness sweetens the severity. This higher revelation which takes place as a result of our efforts below, which means that when we reveal God's will here below through the involvement in Torah and mitzvahs, which are God's will, that causes the same thing to happen above, that God's will is revealed into the space and into the world of emotions, of the attributes, and they become bottle as a result of this revelation, which is much higher than they are. And then they merge, and the Gevurah is sweetened. The Idra Rabbah, as he writes in the Idra Rabbah, and in Mishnas Chasidim, Mesechtes Arich Anpin, he writes over there in Perek Daled, Shetayag Mitzvos HaTorah Nimshoches Mechivrata de Arich Anpin, that the mitzvahs, the 613 mitzvahs of Torah, are originate and are drawn from the level of Arich Anpin, which is higher than all of the emotions and is the source of all the emotions. And there, in Arich Anpin, it comes from the whiteness of Arich Anpin, which is God's will. Arich Anpin is a level of will that precedes even the intellect and is certainly higher than emotions, and that is the source of kindness, the source of chesed. Chivrata, the color white, it reflects kindness, represents kindness, whereas Gvura is represented in colors by a dark color. So the whiteness of Arich Anpin is the divine will, Ratzon ha'elyon, and when that is revealed into the place where the emotions are, then the emotions, kindness and severity, become bottle, they become flexible, and they merge with each other, and the result is that the severity is transformed into kindness. So this is another result that comes from the act of the mitzvah, although it's not directly related to this topic which the Alter Rebbe is discussing in the Perek, which is the way of performing mitzvahs and having the proper kavanah in mitzvahs, and that's why the Rebbe puts it into a note rather than in the text. But this is an important effect that every mitzvah has in bringing kindness to the world by sweetening the severity. The Hayom Yom, for the 20th of Nissan, the 5th day of the Eimer, the Rebbe tells a story that there was a time when Reb Chaim Avraham, one of the Alter Rebbe's sons, went to the Mittler Rebbe, his brother, to visit on Pesach to say Gut Yantiv. And at that occasion, Reb Chaim Avraham mentioned that the Alter Rebbe had said that on Pesach we're not supposed to invite one doesn't invite another person to eat and drink in his house, because people are very careful about what they eat and drink on Pesach. But Nemen Alein Megmen. But that doesn't mean that you can't help yourself to food and drink. On a spiritual level, obviously, The Chaim Avram was saying to the Mittler Rebbe that Pesach you don't invite and you don't offer spiritual food and drink, but if I demand it, if I come and I take myself, then there's no reason that you shouldn't allow me to have it.